We're talking about the NSA guys that were here yesterday in our studio. These are four people that are, I think, some of the bravest people I have met. I've met some really brave people. They are starting to come out and warn us. I don't know if anybody's listening, though. I don't know if the American people really hear it. These guys were they've sacrificed everything in their life. Here, one of the guys he's a mathematician. He worked at the NSA for 37 years. He was a senior technical director. So here's the guy who is helping design the systems. Well, he finds out that they're doing all kinds of bad things and says, we got to stop. And I can design a better system that lives within the Constitution. They actually break his door down. He's in the shower in the morning, and they pull him out of the shower and put a gun between his eyes. American agents. Because, why? Because he's talked to Congress and said, hey, there's a problem. And when Congress didn't do anything, they talked to the New York Times. So they took him by gunpoint. Two of these guys had been taken by gunpoint last night by the federal government. Everything in their life has been turned upside down. They can't get another job. They've been blackballed by the government. They were facing 37 years in prison. 37 years in prison. They just put that to bed. They're being monitored all the time. Now, this is one of them is a technical director. One was on the House Intelligence Committee professional staff. One was a senior intelligence analyst. And the other was a senior executive at the NSA. So these guys, they're all senior people. They all know exactly what's going on. And last night, they came on to warn the American people and say, you have no idea what this government is doing. It was bad under George W. Bush. The exact quote was, Glenn, this is Weimar. Don't people understand what Weimar led to? Don't they understand? And I'm like, I don't know if they do.
And in the off chance that someone in our audience doesn't know what Weimar is.
Somebody in this audience?
I know.
Yeah, you'd have to be a stranger that's just kind of rolling across the dial looking for, Tony Orlando and Dawn hits. Weimar led to Nazi Germany. One of these guys actually worked over for the NSA and was assigned to East Germany in the communist days. And he said, Glenn, look, here's the problem. The communists, to see if any of this sounds familiar, the communists needed to turn the children against the parents. Sound familiar? They needed to get the children to trust the state more than the parents. To make sure that the parents understood, the children understood that the parents didn't know what was best for society, so they would turn state's evidence. Does any of this sound familiar? Then they would monitor you in any public place that they could if you were suspected. And they would have plants in the office. They'd watch you everywhere. But they couldn't watch you in home. That's why they had to have the kids.
They have to water the plants? I mean, they
That's
just brought in potted plants and
the wrong kind of plant.
Who took care of them?
So this new NSA facility, which at minimum could hold 5 U.S. capitals. Think of this.
Yeah, and some have said up to 15, but I think I read 5 times the size of the U.S. Capitol.
Just take that one as a small one. 5 U.S. capitals. Think how large that is. All that's in it.
It's massive.
Data storage.
Intelligence.
Computer data storage.
Keeping records on every U.S. citizen virtually.
These guys say, not virtually, these guys say every phone call you make is now being recorded. Not necessarily listened to, but recorded. Every email, every wire transaction, absolutely everything is being recorded and stored by the NSA.
Every move you make, every breath you take, they're watching you. This is worse than the Police song, and that's pretty bad.
It is.
It's pretty bad.
That was really Stalker City. That
it was,
wasn't
it? It's a little creepy.
Mm-hmm.
It's against the law to do that. By
It
the way.
is, yes.
Don't even try that.
That is hard to believe, though.
It is. And the cynical among us would say, okay, why are these guys alive? Or why aren't they in prison? How did they work out a deal whereby they're not in jail for 37 years? What happened?
Right.
If you're cynical, you would say, well, then why aren't, if it's this sinister and it's this bad, why aren't you either A, dead, or B, in prison?
I think all four of these guys expect to die. I really do. I mean, I sat with them after the show. We talked, and I said, it didn't translate. We spent a half hour with you, and it didn't translate. The story is too complex, and it didn't translate. And they knew it, and they were so disappointed. They were like,
"You thought it didn't translate?"
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And they said, Glenn, we have to find a way to get this information out. People don't have any idea. They don't have any idea. And I said, so what do we do? And they said, well, the problem is both the Republicans and the Democrats are involved in this. And it all stems from 2001. That was the turning point. Everybody said, we got to have this information. And now people can't get off of it. And nobody, you remember when Nancy Pelosi said, we should try George Bush and impeach him for eavesdropping and all of that stuff? Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
They said, do you know why that didn't happen? No idea. Because Nancy Pelosi has her fingerprints all over it, too. Both sides have their fingerprints all over it. They said, what's going on right now is 1,000 times more powerful than what J. Edgar Hoover did. And he took 30 years to compile evidence and compile things, but he had to have, his snoops go find it. And he would set a file on the desk and say, I have this information on you. Now listen, you're going to help me on something. And people always did. That's what's happening now. And they said, you're just not, you've got to slow it down. But they're worried about Mitt Romney because Mitt Romney has one of his advisors is the guy from the NSA that helped set this program up. But they're all saying now, they told me that they have talked to former Bush people who were part of the problem. And the Bush people are saying, it's breathtaking what's happening right now. They're like, look, we know we were kind of skirting the issue. And they're all like, they weren't skirting the issue. They were walking right past the Constitution. But what's happening now is way beyond anything anybody ever thought. And it's just sitting there. And as soon as somebody decides to connect all that data, and I said to them, I said, look, most people will say I'm not doing anything wrong because I'm not doing anything wrong. I have nothing to hide. I'm not doing anything wrong. They can read my emails. Why do I care? Great point. It's not you who decides what you're doing right and wrong. It's those with the power that decide what's right and wrong. The NSA has gone back and they've broken the law several times. What they do is they get Congress to go back and write new laws in what do you call it? I can't think of the word. Shoot, I can't think of the word. Where you make it in the past. You get retroactive. They make it retroactive. So they may have broken the law, but they just get somebody in Congress to write it and say, nope, now it's legal. And it was legal back then now because we just changed that.
Well, they can tax you in
retrospect
or ex post facto. Is that what I was looking for?
Yeah.
Is that what it's called?
I mean, they can change these laws. And whenever, and really their fear is not so much that you're breaking the law, but that they're going to squeeze you. And every single person I have met in the last couple of weeks, they're all being squeezed. All these people are being squeezed.